There's not another way to put this. This is terrible news for Ohio State, especially when you take into account they're about to go to the playoff. You hate to see it. You really do. No, I'm just playing. You don't hate to see it because, number one, Ohio State does not deserve to be in the playoff, but that is a different conversation for a different day. Ohio State just had some bad news happen. Bad news happened. Does that make sense? No. I think a better way to say it is they just got some bad news. The funniest part about this, and it's the most ironic part about this, is Ohio State fans have no reason to be upset whatsoever, yet they are. Ohio State fans, I don't have anything against y'all, but you never fail to amaze me. I'm going to try my best not to get amped up, not to scream in this video, but hey, you know how it goes. Sometimes it happens. What we're going to talk about, it just really irritates me, and we'll leave it at that. Also, we got a couple other minor topics to talk about. As most of you know, college football is going crazy. The Heisman finalists were announced. It's controversial to say the least. We did already talk about that, but we got to talk a little bit more about it. And we also got to talk about who they just announced as the best defensive player in college football. It's going to be a jam-packed video like always. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, we're on the road to 250,000 subscribers before Christmas. That is our goal. We're super close. And if everybody watching this video hit the subscribe button, we may not hit it, but we can get slightly closer. There's so many new people coming to the channel and people in general that are watching. You're simply not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Try to grab up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. A little PSA, by the way. We got the best, not one of, the best college football community on YouTube. So if you want to be a part of that, yeah, feel free to join. Okay, first things first, let's talk about this Heisman for only about 45 seconds to a minute. Like I said, it's controversial to say the least. I could name at minimum 7 to 8 other guys that deserve to be there over Stetson DoorDash Bennett. I don't have a problem with Caleb Williams because he more than likely will win it. Don't have a problem with Max Duggan. I think he's had a fantastic season. And I don't have a problem with CJ Stroud. All three of those guys are very deserving. But I do have a problem with, and I already told you guys this, Hendon Hooker not making it. Hendon Hooker had a phenomenal season. I don't think he should have won the Heisman, but he at least should have been at the ceremony. Also, to go on top of that, I think Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver for Ohio State, he should have been at the ceremony. I think he's one of the best players in all the country. I think Jalen Hyatt is. I think Blake Corum is. And I think Bijan Robinson is. The bottom line, the only reason that Bennett is there is because he's playing on the #1 team in the country. And that's the only reason. Has he had a good season? Yes. Take nothing away from him. He's played good this year. But Heisman, come on, man. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get too amped up. And here's the only argument I need. Stetson Bennett isn't even close to being the best player on his team. And this is why the Heisman some years is total BS. Bennett may not even be a top 5 player on his team. I can name 2 off the top of my head that should go to the Heisman over him. Number 1, Brock Bowers, the tight end. And number 2, the defensive tackle, Jalen Carter. I'm not going to get into that because, as we all know, there's no reason to even get fired up about it because the defensive player is not going to win the Heisman. Same thing for a tight end, Brock Bowers. Unless he has 3,000 receiving yards, they're not even going to consider him. It's a dang shame if you continue to ask me, but take a look at this comment. I hate Alabama, but Bryce Young is the best player in college football. Hendon Hooker is immediately after him. The 2 best players in college football weren't invited to the Heisman ceremony, and that got over 2,500 likes. That's what I'm also saying. We all know Bryce Young. He's one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best players in the country. Here's where they contradict themselves. These same voters last year voted Bryce Young as the winner of the trophy, right? And if you watch Bryce Young this year, not a couple games here and there, but the entire season, you know this is true. He played just as good this year, if not better than last season. And yet, he's not even up for the Heisman. I just want y'all to think about that. Why is he not going to the Heisman ceremony? Oh, yeah, that's right, because he's no longer the best player on the best team. Why did he win the Heisman last year? Because Alabama, they beat Georgia in the SEC championship. Because Alabama, they were going to the playoff. But since Alabama, they're out of contention, it's no longer popular to give them that vote. Here's what I can't believe, and let me know in the comment section your opinion about this. I, for one, couldn't believe when I saw who made it. I couldn't believe Stetson Bennett, DoorDash Bennett, made it over Hendon Hooker, Blake Corum, and Bijan Robinson. Me personally, although I would have liked to see Marvin Harrison Jr. get an invite, I wasn't too upset about that. I was just really irritated with Blake Corum, Hendon Hooker, and Bijan Robinson not getting an invite. It sucks, it really does, but we gotta get a move on to our next topic. I'm only gonna speak on this for about 30 seconds. Will Anderson was named as the best defensive player again in college football. And just like this tweet says, did he play this year? I didn't notice him in any of the televised games. Hey, I'll be the first to tell you, I watched every single Alabama game. Sometimes I watched them twice when I was doing some film study. And there's quarters where you forget he's on the team. There's no doubt in my mind, Will Anderson this season had to have one of the best quiet seasons I've seen in a long time. And make no mistakes about it, he had a great season. If people say he didn't do anything this year, They're just straight up casuals, and I'm going to explain that. Your casuals won't understand, and they won't even watch film in the first place, that Will Anderson, against every single team this year, he was getting doubled and triple teamed. And yet, with getting double and triple teamed, he still had over 10 sacks. The guy's a flat out monster. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, and that's all there is to it. I know on the stat sheet that Will Anderson, his numbers, they don't wow you, but you got to watch the games to understand how much he mattered to this Bama team. This guy's a monster. His motor, and that's what impresses me the most, he's running 100% nonstop. He never takes plays off. He's going to be a monster in the NFL. But it did kind of shock me he won this award with those not so hot numbers. I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts. But finally, moving on to the main topic of the main encore, the main reason you could watch this video, we got to talk about the Ohio State. Ohio State, congratulations. You made the playoff. You shouldn't have made it, but you're in. And you're going to get rewarded by playing Georgia in the first round. I wouldn't even say it's a bittersweet feeling because I think Ohio State fans, they're happy to get in regardless. This isn't one of those things where Ohio State fans are going, dang, yeah, it's awesome we got in, but it sucks we got to play Georgia. No. I think they're all going to be confident going into this game. And rightfully so. You should be confident. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You got one of the best wide receivers in the country. You got one of, if not the best offenses in the country. I could continue to go on, but, and I have a big but, the downside to Ohio State is you have one of the, I'm not going to call him a bad coach, but you have one of the most mediocre head coaches that gets overhyped I've ever seen, and your defense is awful. Your defense is awful. If you tell me otherwise, I think you're a flat-out idiot. As far as it goes for Ryan Day, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Nobody does less with more than Ryan Day himself. I told you heading into the Michigan game that Jim Harbaugh, he was going to outcoach Ryan Day once again, and he did. He didn't even just outcoach him, he embarrassed him for the second straight season. I believe Ohio State should fire Ryan Day, but that's a different conversation for a different day, no pun intended. The funniest part about all this to me was, after Jim Harbaugh beat him last year, he called him out for being born on third base. Then the next year, he followed it up by beating him even worse. You can't make this stuff up. But anyways, all right, I'm getting a little sidetracked. I got to break the bad news. There's not another way to put this. This is terrible news for Ohio State, especially when you take into account they're about to go to the playoff. It's been officially announced one of their best wide receivers, heck, some people even thought he was going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith-Njigba, he is declaring for the NFL draft and will not play in the football playoff. Why did I say football playoff? It's college football playoff. You get what I'm trying to say. Whoa. Hold on. Before you run to the comments and say, man, these college football players, they don't care about their teams anymore. They're all about the money. Check this out. Here's what Smith-Njigba told ESPN, quote unquote. I want to be out there competing with my brothers more than anything. The decision to turn pro was made after I was unable to come back on multiple occasions during the season, and the doctors determined I would be unable to participate in the playoffs. You see it, you hear it from the man himself. This is because of the doctors apparently haven't cleared him to play, and they won't clear him to play in the playoffs. This is where it gets a little dicey though, because Ohio State fans, they're not buying it. They just feel like he's using the injury as an excuse to not play and go get the money, which in my opinion, I have no problem with. I'll talk about that in just a second. For those of you that don't know, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury, and a lot of people were speculating that he should be A-okay by the playoff. And a lot of people felt like there was a chance he would be able to play in the Michigan game. As we all know, that didn't happen, and all these Ohio State Twitter warriors, they feel like there's no reason for Jackson Smith to miss the playoff. Let me read you off some of these replies. And by the way, these are from number 1, Ohio State fans, and number 2, under Jackson Smith's post. You played the Buckeye Nation all year. Do not remotely pretend this injury had anything to do with you not playing this year. Do not even remotely try to say you're part of this team. Delete this tweet, turn in your uniform, and move on. You are no longer a part of this team. Wow, you sure showed him. I can guarantee you, whoever tweeted this out, they don't have a bit of athletic ability in their body. But it doesn't stop there. Check this one out. As a Buckeye season ticket holder of 45 years, I'm appalled at the selfishness of the college football players nowadays. Where is the drive to compete? You are no longer a Buckeye in my book, Jackson. Hit him with the first name. Once again, same argument. Bet whoever tweeted that out, you couldn't even catch a football. We got an Aaron Rodgers fan account stating, wouldn't touch this draft prospect. Guys quit on his teammates. He's a quitter. You want that in your locker room? Finally, though, I found a good tweet. And by the way, I'm not just picking these out. I'm just going down here. If your comment isn't along the lines of, good luck at the next level, thanks for everything you've given us, please shut up. I agree. Here's where people are missing the point though, and they automatically assume the worst. I can understand missing a regular bowl game, but a shot at the title? I guess the brotherhood only goes as far as the bank. That got nearly 500 likes, and under that, Buddy literally did not read the post where it says doctors told JSN he won't be able to play in the playoffs. But like I said, don't tell Ohio State fans that because they're not buying it. There's thousands of tweets I'm going to read, but this is the last one. Just come out and say it's about the money, my dude. Either you got the worst hamstring pull of all time or it's all about the money, which I can't hate on. But your team could have really used you. This new generation just is built different. Anyway, go Bucks. Oh wait, I'm going to read this comment because it's what I'm going to speak on. Business decision. I get it. Can't believe we only got one full season of JSN. Crazy. Like I said, I could continue to go on and on for hours just reading these comments because a lot of people are mad and pissed off about this, but those are the only ones I'm going to show you. Here's my problem, not with Smith-Njigba because I back him 100%, it's with the fans. Let's just say, for example, Jackson is 100% healthy and he skipped the bowl game because he doesn't care about it and he wants to go get the money. Who cares? That's his right to do so. I get it, you could be disappointed, but there's no reason to be mad and pissed off at the dude and saying some of the things these people are saying. Me, myself, the only way I would consider playing in a bowl game is if it's for the playoff. Other than that, no. But still, even with that being said, if a player wants to skip out on the playoff just to go make $10 to $15 million, I'm all for it. Because guess what? I know to fans like me and you, yeah, winning a championship, it matters, but to a lot of these players, it's not everything. And when I say it's not everything, let me give you a great perspective. Winning a championship's awesome, but last time I checked, you don't get paid to win championships. At the college level at least, the only thing you're going to get that could be turned into a financial gain is you're going to get that championship ring and you could possibly sell it for $50,000 at max. Once again, to fans, we want to witness a championship, but that's not going to pay these guys bills. That's not going to take their mama out of a terrible situation. That's not going to take their family out of a terrible situation. That's not going to set up generational wealth. But you know what will set up generational wealth? You know what will help their family situation out? Making $10 to $15 million in the NFL. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If I was playing for Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia, and you told me, hey, you can either win scratch that. You can win 3 straight national titles, or you win 0 titles, go 0-12, but in return, I'll give you $20 million. I don't care at all about the fan base. I don't care who I disappoint. I'm taking the 20 mil. And guess what? A lot of you watching this video, you do the exact same thing. What's better, winning college football championships where in return you're not going to get any money at all, or getting $20 million? That's the best way I can describe it, and that's what it comes down to. And what I'm about to say next should really hit home with some of y'all. Jackson Smith-Njigba looking out for himself, that's not selfish. Who's actually being selfish in this case and scenario is the fans. It's so ironic because the people who are calling him selfish, they're being selfish. They want this young kid, this young man to go out there, put his body on the line, risk millions, tens of millions of dollars just so they can win a bowl game. And that's what it is. They're not even in the national championship yet. It's just a bowl game, which they're not even favored to win. It blows my mind. To Jackson, I respect your decision. I understand it, and I back you 10,000%. Go get that money. That's what I want to see. I want to see all these kids out there go get the bag. And it's so funny to me when people try to say, man, all these kids care about nowadays is money. Dude, everyone cares about money. Money runs the world. It's not nothing personal against Ohio State. I'm sure he loves his teammates, but this is a business decision. I really fumbled those words. Business decision. You get what I'm trying to say. As far as it goes for Ohio State, this also goes without being said. Yeah, it's a huge blow to your team. You're not going to have one of the best wide receivers in the country playing against Georgia, one of the best defenses in the country. It sucks. It really does, because you also got to take into account you got one of the most overrated head coaches coaching your team. I've seen it all throughout this season, and it pisses me off to the max. I am sick and tired of Ohio State with these explosive wide receivers, this amazing quarterback throwing bubble screens. You know who bubble screens are for? Your mediocre teams. The only way Ohio State has a fighting chance against Georgia, is if they do what Alabama did in the SEC championship game. You got to get your best wide receiver, which was Jameson Williams for Alabama, which is now Marvin Harrison Jr., on some go routes and get him the ball. I got good and bad news. Good news is, you got the weapons to do that. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country and one of the best wide receivers in the country, so you can do it. The bad news is Ryan Day going to call those plays? I guess we got to wait and see. I just think you got to get Marvin Harrison the ball. You got to target him at minimum 15 times. You got to get him on these 15, 20-yard post routes. You got to get him on the go routes. These 2- and 3-yard bubble screens, these 5-yard slants ain't going to do it. I am very curious. Let me know your thoughts down below about the Roll With Me.